Evening, everybody. I want to get right into the show because I have Carl Peterson with us tonight discussing the state of things in regard to basically, education in our country, and specifically some of the tactics that are still being implemented in order to basically mold how our students learn and how law enforcement interacts with our community. So I want to go ahead and bring Carl on right now. We can have a quick little discussion. Let me see if I can get him in. Hey, Carl, you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. So anyway, I just hopped straight in because I had you waiting. I didn't want to have you waiting too long. So I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, talk about your background, then we'll get into this discussion because I want to give you as much of a platform to talk about, what's going on out there in California.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm a father of 5. That's how I got involved in education issues. 2 of my daughters are on the autism spectrum. They're on the severe end. And basically, we got into an argument with the district and had to sue them over what services my kids were going to get. Sitting in the conference room, we had 2 days of mediation, and I turned to my wife and said, somebody's got to change how they do this. And she said, well, what about you? So the next thing I knew, I was running for school board, took on the incumbent who was supported by charter schools. There was 5 of us running against her. I didn't make it, but one of the other people did. We threw out the incumbent. 2 years later, there was another incumbent who is also supported by charter schools. So I actually moved into her area and ran against her. Weren't as successful that time, but I spent $4,000 and they spent $650,000. So
Understand. So, I mean, this implementation of charter schools, from my understanding, is a unique, I guess, vehicle that's being utilized to undermine, the public school system. And you've been battling it for some time now. Care to tell me a little bit about your efforts in that regard?
Yeah, so Los Angeles is kind of the test case for the charters. They've put a lot of time and effort in here because we're the second biggest school district. Mm-hmm. And so we have the most charters in all of the country. Last count, I think over 250. So it's about 20% of the district's students have been taken away into these charter schools. And the results have not been, at best, they're not any better. The same percentage of underperforming schools, mm-hmm. And I put that in quotes because that depends sometimes on which data they're manipulating to say that. But the same public schools that are on there, it's the same. It's 80-20. Charters and public schools. It comes down to the fact that a lot of the underperforming schools are in low social economic areas, and the kids have strikes against them already. So it's not the teacher's fault per se. They're doing the best with what they can, and they're not getting the support from our government to get other services. And until you fix those other services, you're not going to fix the education system.
So how does this play into the fraternal order of police and basically the school resource officers that you were discussing?
Okay, so Los Angeles was a unique position as we came into this because of the teacher strike last year, and a big portion of what the teachers union worked on was working with parents and students to put forth a platform in their demands that was to benefit students. And out of that, Students Deserve, which is a group of activist students, and they had already fought the district to eliminate random searches. Mm-hmm. So they were already in place and ready to go. So when the protests hit high gear this summer, they were there, they were organized, and they demanded the defunding of the police department. Unfortunately, what ended up happening is we have there's 7 members on our school board. 3 are pro-charter, 3 are pro-union, and then we have one that kind of floats between the sides. The 3 charter forces are the ones that back the students deserve, which was kind of unusual because usually they're opposed to the union in all cases.
Mm-hmm.
The way I see it, they were looking to destabilize the public schools.
Okay.
So they did this. Two of the three of the union supported candidate board members, they actually opposed this measure just because there was no planning behind it. They wanted to cut 50% of the funding immediately, but without a plan of what are we going to do? Because obviously school shootings, there's things that we want to make sure are in place before you start changing the system. So one of those board members did manage to move it, so they went to a 35% cut instead of a 50%, and it passed. So I was siding with the union-backed board members in that we need a plan. It's definitely, they weren't saying we're not going to make these cuts. They were saying we need it needs to be orchestrated. We're dealing with 600,000, give or take, students. Their safety has to come first, and it just so happens that the 3 of them are retired principals, so they've been in the school. They know what's got to go on. So I was sitting in a meeting last month, and the head of the school police officers, the school district has its own police department, which is going to bewildered me.
I thought that was amazing myself.
So the head of the union came up, and you have to keep in mind, as soon as the cuts were passed, their police chief quit in protest immediately. Mm-hmm. So of course they're hyping on this fear thing and to block the cuts, to begin with. But the head of their union just went forth and just pulled the trump card. It was, the teachers union is brainwashing students with their Marxist theories, and that's the only way. They're using these kids. These kids, have no idea what they're talking about. They're just
pawns.
So basically, more destabilization. And from my concern is that it's going to destabilize the whole defund movement. That because in my theory, they just need a plan.
Mm-hmm. A scapegoat.
Right. Yeah, that's what it's going to be used as, I'm afraid.
So talk about the association with the whole defund the police movement. How did, and then also they try to conflate the Black Lives Matter movement with this situation, as well as they're talking about reducing police presence at schools. How did that come to be, and where is that now?
Well, I guess the Black Lives Matter LA was very involved with the Students Deserve.
Okay.
So they were collaborating with the students, and so as it should be. To me, the whole defund the police movement, it kind of suffers from bad marketing, but that's because it was organic. It kind of came from the streets. I don't think that defund is exactly what anybody was looking for. It's just rethinking how we do it.
Yeah, reappropriation.
Yeah. So I'm afraid that by the charter forces pushing this change so quickly without the plan, that it's going to jeopardize it going forward.
Okay, so basically the charter schools, pushing forward this agenda, this affects the public schools, significantly, which don't have the resources that the charter schools, have in regard to. Are the charter schools replacing those, those police officers with any kind of, other kinds of resource officers or private security or anything like that? Considering they're private schools, do they have the ability to do that?
Well, the charter schools won't be affected by this at all, because unless they're on a LAUSD campus, which some of them, they do get their claws in there, but most of them operating on private sites don't have LAUSD protection. So it's an easy move for them to make, because now they're going to go out to the neighborhoods and say, look, our campus is safer. You should come over here.
That's what I read between the lines, is basically that, you know, the public schools are going to be destabilized, and the officer at that particular I guess like school board meeting, or that school board representative who was the fraternal order of police representative at the school board meeting, was basically stating something to that effect in regard to citing the percentage of the percentage increase in violent crimes as a result of this legislation being passed and whatnot. So it seems like there's a lot of fear mongering going on.
Yeah, especially since the students aren't on campus right now. So LUSD is still totally online. So I'm not quite sure where their figures were coming from. And then the case where they were talking about property theft, well, with nobody's on campus, of course, it's going to leave it more vulnerable, you know, generally. So even that was, I think, scare tactics that weren't really based in what was happening.
So what are the plans, you know, I mean, moving forward? Are there any steps to implement any kind of, I guess, like supplemental security policy, you know, to keep this thing from, you know, imploding the way that the charter school advocates seem to want it to?
It's been left in the superintendent's lap, and the superintendent is a lapdog of the charter school. So fearful that there is no plan, which is generally how things go here.
Okay, and there are, and as far as, like, you know, anybody on the social justice side out there, you know, is there any kind of movement designed to support the public school system as these resource officers have been removed?
Yeah, they're pushing for more.
Okay.
So, I mean, I feel for their end goal, but I don't know that they've thought it all the way through in the intermediate steps, especially when we go back to school.
Okay, so what you're suggesting as a plan? I mean, you were running for office at one point, and you know, I assume you had some solutions. You know, what can the community do out there as far as, like, you know, galvanizing and working toward a solution? Yeah,
I would have started by changing the rules that they operate under, and changing it from a force that deals with discipline to just protecting students. You know, so mainly operating off campus. You know, you can patrol the perimeter, but we need this is where the other, you know, things come in to on campus. You know, we shouldn't be policing. We should be, you know, looking. I don't know. When I went to school, we had old retired security guards where, you know, they weren't threatening to anybody, but, you know, you were in the hall, they wrote you up. You know, we don't need somebody in you know, with a gun and a uniform to do that.
Understandable. As far as working with the community, I mean, is there is tension between the police department, you know, higher with the community now? I mean, considering the fact that school is not in, they don't have that many jobs to begin with, so it feels like, you know, an over allocation of financial resources, you know, for them to, you know, I mean, I guess we'll go back eventually, or we'll go back in some shape, form, or fashion, but right now it feels like an over allocation of resources. So I can't, you know, understand, you know, if there's tension, you know, how that's manifested.
Except for the resources now would actually be useful in that they're protecting the sites. Mm-hmm. Making sure there's, you know, no vandalism and, you know, nobody's breaking in. So it's that the other thing that kind of made this a weird time to push it. We had some time to work with because of COVID.
Mm. So you think that it was a preemptive push and to cause the fail, to revisit that point again?
Well, not only that, but also a marketing point for the charters.
Okay.
We'll protect you. We have our own private security. We, you know, we have charters here who, you know, hire armed security guards to watch over the governing board meetings to keep the public at bay. So
that's what I was trying to allude to. I figured they had to have some sort of private sector solution that was going to benefit them. You know, and the public sector definitely didn't have access. That the public sector didn't have access to. Okay. All right. So as far as the students are concerned, you said that there was, a push by the students. Where does that stand considering the fact that they're all spread out now? Have they gone, virtual and online? Are there any protests or anything, in the works?
Not that I know of. They have been very active. The meetings where this plan was set forth was like I think 8 hours of debate, and with students in the as much as was allowed in the boardroom, because it's limited now, but a whole bunch, they filled the street out front. So when it comes to the actual things, but I haven't seen that much since. So again, I think they were looking for the end result rather than the midpoint. And again, we're in COVID, nobody's in school, so we're not going to really see the end results of this. So we're back.
Okay.
And then also the other thing that the police union has seemed, or the police department has seemed to do is cut out some of the stuff, like I guess that would be considered community policing. So the PALS program and the Explorers program, it looks like are ended.
Yeah, I thought that was strange watching that conference, because basically the school police board was saying that those programs had to go first because of these cuts, and then that's going to undermine the security of the schools, even though that didn't have to happen. That was more in line with what we were aiming to do in regard to defunding the police and reallocating those resources. Has there been any discussion about the public picking up any of those programs in any way? I mean, I know it wouldn't involve licensed officers or anything, but
right. No, I haven't heard anything about that. Now, the one good part about the resolution is that it does ban the LAPD from coming in and the sheriff's department,
okay,
which would have been considerably worse,
Okay, so these people just, I mean, they're being left without any kind of security solution. Or, well, I mean, there is a security solution, but significantly reduced. I think it was something like 40%.
Yeah, I think it was 30. Yeah.
Okay. So basically what's going to happen is these students are going to come back. There's going to be less security at the public schools. They're going to result in, more altercations, and make the charter schools look like the ideal place to be, because they're more secure and they're not in these high risk neighborhoods and environments.
Well, they're same neighborhoods, just more protection.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
I mean, they already kind of feed on that in the way they take care of their student body. They don't suspend students; they just get rid of them. Yeah. somebody misbehaves, they're out the door, and that's a selling point to the other parents. Like, we get rid of the troublemakers. We don't solve the problems, but they won't be your kid's problem.
So we're creating a tiered educational system where basically, you can either, be in utopia, where your child will be protected, and then if your child misbehaves, he gets kicked down to the gulag, where there's nobody there to protect them, and there's crime and violence everywhere. That's
right. Same thing with test scores, and and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the charter schools get rid of people who don't test well.
Mm-hmm.
So then they can market themselves as having higher test scores, and it.
Gotcha. So, solutions. What are we looking at? I mean, like, is this something where we have to, like, mass spam the school board, or like, who's pushing back, and how can we support them?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see any push. Well, I guess it depends on which target. On the particular issue of the police, I don't see any pushback right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to get darker here. We just had our school board elections. We're with the November elections, and we've lost the slight majority we had.
Oh, wow.
And so the charter schools are in charge again.
Mm-hmm.
So starting in January, it's going to get even worse for us.
So any pushback is going to have to come from the bottom up and not the top down, because they're incentivized not to solve this problem and to let it fall apart and blame the lack of police investment.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out, because, like I said, it was all the charter people who did it. So, but that never stopped them from not taking responsibility before.
Okay.
They'll just blame it on the other guys.
As they tend to do.
Their marketing is really strong.
I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, how do you counter, that narrative, when something is set up to fail? That's the question of the hour. And it seems like it's going to require, like I said, some kind of grassroots support to fill in the gaps that the charters. I mean, the charters are intentionally creating, for the system to fail. But I don't know if that involves, if there's no local. Are we talking about volunteer former police officers, to step in and fill that divide with some kind of model? Are we talking about, just volunteer parents, stepping in? But then we're talking about potential liability, in both cases. So in our litigious society, that's going to be problematic as well.
Yeah, and from the police union's head look like that they're going to do anything in their power to sabotage it.
Mm-hmm. Have they telegraphed those intentions in any shape, form, or fashion beyond?
Beyond. It's just it's more of what they've done. With like the guy's speech. Playing the Trump card. It's the Marxist thing, and and harping on increased property thefts and blaming it on this when it's because nobody's in campus. I mean, this happened a couple of months ago, and they're already, trying to claim that the crime levels are spiking. But we've seen that before.
True.
They did the same thing in Minneapolis, I believe.
So tell me a little bit more about the situation involving, your own children, in this mix, like, and how you've gone up against, this before.
Yeah, it's a frustrating battle at times. The bureaucracy is huge. We're the only school district that's larger than Los Angeles is New York, and New York is condensed. We're 720 square miles of school district, so it'll take 2 hours to get to a board meeting sometimes. So, it's we made some gains through the teacher strike last year, but now and things seem strong. But now that we've lost one of the board members, it's going to get interesting.
Then that position won't be open until 2022 or 2020.
Half is every 2 years. So it was 4 board members were up this year. This year, 2 years, and the next 3 will be up. Okay. And it was kind of like the Senate, kind of goes in that this time it was all of the pro public education candidates seats were up. So we had to run perfect, and we got 3 out of 4. Next time it's all the charter schools that are up. Okay. Luckily for us, the last time that's happened, one of them ended up in jail. So, there's always that.
So moving forward, I guess it's about holding the line now until 2022, and then also putting forward candidates. That's one area that can be, advanced on, is running candidates that can help to resolve, or hopefully get into positions of power that can help resolve this matter. Right.
Unfortunately, the money then becomes the situation, because the charter schools are putting up in one race, and they put up $6.44 million for a school board race. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's hard to compete with.
True. I mean, we're seeing those. I mean, we saw those types of tactics used in South Carolina, and now down in Georgia with this runoff race. These individuals are extremely vested in creating this class division. Are definitely going to spend the money and the resources to do so. So I mean, the only way that we can really counter that, is by organically sharing, giving, circumstances and situations like this some kind of visibility. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm glad you're here today, because this can be circulated, share with other people, and they know this is a problem, in the absence of having a coffer of cash to throw at the problem.
Yeah, and it's educating people. I mean, before I got involved in this, I had no idea what a charter school was. You just look at the marketing. Oh, I guess that's good. Mm-hmm. But you don't realize all the negative effects that's going on. The fact that they have considerably less children with special education in their programs, which makes it not only harder for those parents to find a school, but it also leaves the district with higher costs because special education students cost more. Mm-hmm. One thing I didn't know before I got into this. Special education from the fund. Most of the special education funding comes from the federal government, but they decided they don't want to encourage schools to identify people as special ed. So therefore, special ed funding is based on your total overall population. So a charter school, might have, let's say 5% of their students with special education needs. They're going to still get the same amount per student in special education funding as the public school that has 15%.
Got you. There's also differences in curriculum too, from my understanding. Charter schools can be more lax, with their curriculum requirements, are basically, hide instructors, for instance, who have experience, and knowledge, can put a teaching assistant out there, who's basically teaching their course for them, who isn't educated, as educated as they are, and just basically sit back and collect a paycheck.
Now we've been able to fix some of that in California to some extent. We still have online schools where the certified teacher is on the computer, and the person in the classroom is just, like you said, a TA, or that they're paying barely anything to. But we finally made it so in California, so a teacher has to be credentialed in the subject that they're teaching, even in a charter school.
Now, are you in your? Oh, go ahead. You finish your thought? What were you saying?
Well, I was just saying, which was unbelievable that wasn't already in place. That we had to fight for that. It's incredible.
Now, as far as interaction between the school board, and this basically police force for the school system, you're definitely seeing overt favoritism along the lines toward the charter schools now, I gather.
I don't know what you mean by that.
As far as the police force that polices the schools, are they showing any preferences toward the charter school or charter schools, or any collaboration, any open collaboration?
No, they don't. They don't police the charter schools.
Okay.
They only police the LA, unless they're on an LA USD campus.
Okay. I mean, I just understand you were saying basically that you felt like there was in this defund movement was being co-opted by the charter schools, and so I didn't know whether or not there was any sort of visible collaboration between the police, ironically, and these pseudo defunders who want this to fail.
Yeah. No. Matter of fact, it didn't even seem like the head of the union understood what the school board politics were when he was complaining, because he was complaining about the teachers union, because they were pushing it, but their board members were not the ones who voted for it. So it's the other interesting side of this is everybody switched sides. So
yeah.
You have the unions and the charters basically working together at this point.
Okay. So we'll find out. I mean, when do you all come back into I guess like in-person classes? We're getting ready to go through this spike, this post Thanksgiving spike as far as COVID is concerned. They're not going to go back, anytime relatively soon, are they? Or how much time do we have?
No, they were. We were hoping that they would get some special education students back in, and even that's been put on hold now because of the spike. So, yeah, we have no idea. It's and the best we'll do is a hybrid model, I think.
Okay, is that like half students on certain days and off other days?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it like I was just saying, it's going to be interesting to see how this progresses, because there's usually you have the two sides against each other, and you can kind of pit those against each other at least, and we're not even going to get that. So I don't know where the push will be until, unfortunately, they go back and something falls down on the job and something happens.
So we're waiting for something to go bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think so.
Okay, all right. Well, hopefully it won't be too bad. Yeah, that's kind of dark.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Well,
it's weird because, like I said, I support the whole idea of the defund. It was just, we were just in such a situation where everything just lined up so quickly. I think that it got out ahead of itself.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's the thing. It's like, if we can find, we have time, right? There's no going back anytime soon. So there's got to be, I mean, as far as defunding the police and practically doing it in a way that, is going to be safe, this could be an opportunity for, a test bed operation. If the right individuals, decide to step up and say, this is what we're going to do, especially considering the fact that you're going back, quite possibly on a staggered schedule. Not everybody's not going to go back at the same time. So if you implement some new security policy right now that would involve the community, it wouldn't be as much of a burden as, the second largest school district in the country all going back at the same time. Like, I would think that's the case. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, you would hope so. Yeah, you would hope in the end that the 7 people on the board are going to realize that, the safety of the students is at stake, and put that above everything else. You would hope. You would hope. I like to be optimistic sometimes.
Yeah. Life is about, you got to look up sometimes. Carl. You got to look up sometimes. Maybe it'll happen. And that's, I guess that's my, biggest concern now that we are living, in a future, post-Trump era, is people becoming complacent and saying everything's fine. Like, we had charter schools before. What's the big deal? What's the big problem? We now don't have Betsy DeVos in charge of education anymore. What's the big deal? What's the big problem? And this is still obviously a very, big problem, because you all don't have vouchers, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. But this charter school implementation, I mean, that's part of what Betsy DeVos's agenda was rolling this out, rolling this kind of model out nationwide. And basically what you're going through is what we have been trying to avoid nationwide in regard to this separation of education and educational opportunity, advantages. And that's basically what seems to be happening. There is no more separate but equal.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Betsy DeVos, how much worse was she than Arne Duncan when it came to this? He was pushing the same thing. Yes. we get it from both sides. Our school board is, it's 7 Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we talk partisan, it's, charter schools versus the union. It's come to that point. As a matter of fact, one of our board members switched from Republican to Democrat, and he was the strongest on supporting the teachers union. So, this is how upside down we are when it comes to this issue. A lot of the charter school pushes come from the Democratic side too. I left the Democratic Party over it when
Oh,
I
wow.
ran
Okay.
because they were endorsing the charter candidates. So
Well, I mean, money. I mean, money's talking, right? So it's not even about political. It's not even about the political affiliation. Obviously, at this point, right? We're talking about just straight hard cash.
right, and the Green Party was out and out against the charter schools expanding, so I went with them.
What kind of pushback did you get? Whenever you went green.
I didn't get much. I was running such a scrappy campaign that that might have affected some of it. I basically moved into another neighborhood. I left my family and moved into a room. So we were being scrappy, but the person who I was running against, she thinks she's big in the Democratic Party in LA. She thinks she's, this is a stepping stone to better things. But unfortunately, it's people just don't understand, everything that's involved. The marketing side on charter schools is so good, but people don't want to look, but what's behind them until something happens. We just had a case in the last few months where a charter school operator got caught embezzling $3 million. And when that case first came up, and we didn't know that there was embezzlement involved, we just knew that the financials did not look good. And I actually went and spoke before the school board, and one of the school board members was was belittling me, saying, what do you mean we're not doing oversight? We're now talking about not renewing this school's charter. But for 5 years, this has been going on. You're just taking action now. And then sure enough, a couple months later, they arrested the person.
So there's a greater opportunity for corruption with the charter schools because of their lack of oversight that the public schools don't have.
Right. I mean, and this is not the first case. 2 years ago, we had another multi-million-dollar investment coming from the charters. When you have the director of the charter showing up every day in a limousine, there's a problem. In an inner city school.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I don't. When do you think the lay of the land will change? Because I definitely want to, hear how, I mean, it's good that we're hearing about this, at the point where policies have been implemented. Sad that, there's nothing we can do about it, but watch it unfold. And, some kids are going to be at risk and someone's going to get potentially, hurt, or some kind of criminal activity is going to have to transpire before it's addressed. But, as far as, that fallout, would you be willing to come back and talk to us again, after that happens? Yeah,
definitely. I can keep in touch with you and let you know what's going on. Hopefully at some point they're going to come up with a plan. I mean, that's what the superintendent's been tasked to do. So let's see where that goes.
Solely or the board?
No, they offloaded it to him. I mean, I guess the shining spot in all this is the three board members who voted against him, against the plan. They're the three ex-principals. So they've been in a school. They know what it takes to run a school. They know the issues that can happen. George McKenna is one of the board members. He was in a movie, or they did a movie about him and him turning around a school. I think it was Denzel Washington played him. Okay. And so he knows what it's like to when safety is an issue. He had people leaving his school because they were unsafe, and he turned that around. So the bright spot is that at least we can trust they're going to keep an eye on it and try to at least push something.
Okay. Push something that they believe will be successful, or push something that you believe will undermine, the situation further.
No, they all came out and said they were for taking away the funding. They just wanted it done with a plan.
Okay.
So hopefully, that'll be enough that's the shining spot, I guess, that maybe they'll be able to push a plan, but they're going to be in the minority real soon. So let's see.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. All right. Well, thank you, Carl, for coming out, man. If I want to support, and I want to use this platform. So if there's anything that you find out, anything that you discover as far as any kind of initiatives that are coming from the ground up, anybody are you in contact with anybody, in the counter movement, any of the students at all, or?
No, not regularly. I was saying, I kind of stumbled across this because I was just at the same school board meeting where it happened, and kind of got into it. But LA is such a big place. Being in that 720 square feet, that's part of our problem with opposing the other side, is that we're just in little silos here. But we're trying to reach across. So there's some efforts. So hopefully get some of that done.
Okay. Hopefully we'll be here to help assist with that reaching across. We'll get the word out.
Okay.
All right, brother. Well, thank you for your time. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Okay. Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Bye. All right. So, yeah, hopefully you understand the relationship between, charter schools and public schools that model is being implemented, even though it's in the second largest school district in the country. There is a push nationally for more charter schools to be opened, and public schools are being compromised as a result. So that's one of the main reasons why we had Carl on tonight. But I do want to talk about some things that are in the works. Well, first of all, follow us on Twitter, Progressive in 5, as you can see there. But yeah, today in progressive history, this is not Rosa Parks' birthday. Her birthday is actually in November. This is December 1st. This is the day that she chose to sit down on the bus in Montgomery, Alabama, and kicked off the Montgomery bus boycotts. So I want to celebrate that, with you. I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. We are working on on a couple stories. There's going to be an interesting interview next week between myself and a former Trump supporter, or a former Republican, a former conservative. Apparently, we align on some issues, so I'm looking forward to that discussion. But there was also a story that was more close to home here in North Carolina. We have correspondents, all over the country. But here in North Carolina, in Harnett County, there was the shooting of an unarmed black man, and the man actually survived. So I made contact with his family, and we're having some preliminary discussions. This thing just happened this past weekend, so it's a developing story. So I do want to keep you abreast of that. We also were supposed to interview a nurse who was a eyewitness to the Kyle Rittenhouse shooting. She was actually there after the shooting happened to treat some of the victims. We're basically trying to confirm that that individual is who she says she is, and everything lines up. We like to vet our sources to make sure that we aren't just putting random people out here. And so that's another developing story we have going on. But I thank you all for your support, for continuing to follow Progressive Insider. Check out our Patreon. Like and subscribe and share, because the main force that we have behind advancing our cause is you all. Okay? So have a good night. Talk to you later. Peace.